living. I am just an icon living. Icon. 2020, girl, ain't haven't been the one, you know.
Excuse me?
I got some important news. You are now looking at an author, a poet, a published author. The reason why I wrote this was just to get my feelings out on different opinions. The reason why I wrote this book was because I realized when I speak to people, like, they share similar experiences to me. Like when I talk about racism, like when I speak to my black friends counterparts and stuff like that, yeah, they tell me like, yeah, I see you, microaggressions, I see that, yeah. And I'm just like, oh, like we all having the same experience. So just writing about it and then people reading it and saying like, yes, someone that gets me. That's why I did it. That's why I published such a piece of my soul. I would love to say this is a piece of my soul. I should have just named it a piece of my soul. But yeah, I made it accessible because I just want everyone to know that they're not alone. You know, when they're conscious about their body or the racism that they experience or the loneliness that they experience during this quarantine, or love or the lack of, or like a parent not being in your life or stuff like that. I touch on a range of things, and that's why it's called Bittersweet, because it starts with motivational and stuff like that, but then it touches on serious aspects, but then it touches on high notes of friendship and love, and then it touches on the deepness of police brutality, and then it ends on a high note of Jamaica. It's a combination of mixtures because I couldn't make it monotone. I couldn't just make it a poetry book that's just happy or all sad, or because that's not me. Like, I am always on an emotional roller coaster. I'm never one emotion. So I'm just going to start off with one of my poems for that's in the motivational section, which is the first section. Favorite poems from motivational is: when there is no hope, write yourself a note, a hopeful note. Which means when you're feeling hopeless, you gotta remind yourself, like, of all the times that you've had hope, of all the times that good things happen. Like, writing a note with hope or something positive can help you get out of that state. So that's why I wrote that poem, because I just think people need to be reminded that you can do something to increase your happiness, even if you're in a stage of darkness, or you're just not feeling hopeful or stuff like that. Because 2020, girl, haven't been the one, you know. 2020 has been I would like to call it a roller coaster that breaks halfway through and then you have your leg amputated. However, you become a Paralympic the hell, what do you call people who are Olympics? Olympian?
You, are you dumb?
Olympian. Okay, athlete. Let's say athlete, like a Paralympic athlete. So, you know, there could be something good from it, like, even though it's something tragical, magical. If something tragic happens, like, there's still hope. You know, it's not, nothing is done until you're dead, basically. That sounds dark, but it's like nothing is set until you're dead. Theme 2, I would say, world issues, and it's based on equality, loneliness. I'm an only child, you know, and I've moved around a lot, and there has been times like I felt lonely and stuff like that. And then, like, I know a lot of people experience loneliness, even though, like, we have friends and stuff. Sometimes we just feel internally alone. Like, I don't know, like, also speak about climate change in this segment and COVID-19 because it's so relevant, because I edited this. The reason why this anthology wasn't released for so long, it wasn't finished. There was so many things to talk about, and I felt like it just needed some final seal. And I think this like COVID-19 experience had to be put into it just to make it, not to make it relevant, but you know, when people read this book, they will be like, oh, it was in the time of, you know, and this is how she felt, you know, or this is how people were feeling. Because there was definitely a shift in this year in how people was feeling. And I guess people like had to face the music and face their selves within this time of isolation and stuff like that. So this is why, you know, I included it. And that's why it was finished during this time. Basically, this one is about, there's so many. Okay, so yeah, there was one called Day 40, and it was literally day 40 of quarantine and how I was feeling. So I was speaking to a friend, and she was saying like earlier on in quarantine, like, oh, it just feels like my bedroom's a prison cell. Like, I just see these four walls. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm just always in my room. Like, even when I'm, like, I can't work in my room, I have to come downstairs and write. And that conversation, like, inspired, like, I was, like, starting to have restless nights. Like, I couldn't sleep properly within quarantine because it just felt like every day I was waking up and going to sleep, waking up, going to sleep, and there was nothing to look forward to. It was just like these days, like I felt like my days were just one day. It was just like one endless day and one endless week. Like I still don't know when's the weekend and when's the weekday, because I don't care, because nothing's different. So I feel like Day 40 is such a relevant poem because it is a poem where I think a lot of people can relate to, because of how our days just don't feel like days anymore. So that is a great poem from the World Issues section. With Love Dimension, it is how I see others in love, how I see the media portray love, how different love is portrayed, and different forms of love that I've seen, whether it's on TV, whether it's the relationships my friends have, whether it's the friendships I have, whether it's like different forms of love. And within this, I highlight the toxicness of love as well, because I feel like a lot of poems are just like, she was sweeter than a mango and love is this. And I'm like, love can go two ways. Love can be great, but love can be toxic as well. And sometimes you need to remove that toxic love out of your life. And I binge watch Gossip Girl. And I was looking at not Chad. Who the hell is Chad? I'm sorry. Chuck Bass. I'm Chuck Bass. But I looked up Chuck Bass and Blair's relationship, and it was just very toxic. And so was Serena's, and so I could, like, at the end of it, I was tired of Serena. Like, Serena just all cyanide, which, if you know what cyanide is, it ain't good. And it's literally the way I see Chuck and Bear's relationship throughout Gossip Girl. And it's like the relationship in the media, and so like it's a thrill. People want to get themselves in it, and it's quite damaging. As you can see, like, Blair and Chuck relationship is quite damaging. And like I was just interesting poem to write, because that's what I got. Like, it's literally poison at your bedside. Like, the person who's doing you the most damage is right next to you as you sleep. Like, they're in your bloodline because they're so close to you. After Love Dimension, which I think Love Dimension, as I said, was a interconnecting, just different ways of love, different forms of love. So that's love dimension. And then there is personal or personal experiences. It has two names, personal experiences. And this covers more self-image, depression, the Black experience. In this chapter or theme, it's very intimate, I would say, with my emotions. I feel like everything I've said within this chapter is very near and dear to my heart. So there's more, it's more about my Black identity as well. My favorite poem within this section would have to be My Body. It's literally called My Body. And the drawing of the body is actually my body. Like, I did a sketch of my own body because, as I said, it's called personal. So I was like, I didn't want to draw anyone else's body. I wanted to draw my own. So I sketched that, and that's my body. Weird, I know, but it's like, yeah, I'm a very thick person, as you can see. Thick arms, chicken wings, hot dog and bologna, chicken and macaroni, chilling with my homies. So yeah, basically, the reason why I wrote about it was because I felt like a lot of people had a lot of things to say about my body, which does not concern them, about like how it looks, how it's this, how it's so I don't care, you know, what anyone has to say at the minute. You know, all those opinions, there's a trash can, you put them in there. Their opinions about other people's physical features is irrelevant. You know, I'm healthy. I'm not obese. You know, I do not have any health conditions because of my weight. A lot of people are like, you're good, you're fine. And I always thought I was bigger than I actually was because of all what I heard and stuff like that. So, you know, thinking all my friends were prettier than me. That's how I grew up. I was like, all my friends are just prettier than me. And I accepted it. I was like, yeah, all my friends are prettier than me. Like, I wasn't salty about it. That's just it. Like, in the movies, you know, the duff, you know, you see, you know who's like the less attractive. And it's, the funny thing is, it's the less attractive friend is always like the curvier one, or, you know, the one who doesn't like dress up that much, or, you know, the quirky one. And I've always felt like I fit into that category, like the quirky friend, the thicker friend. You know, I didn't get attention from people, and you know what, is what it is. Like, I was just a funny friend and everything like that. And you know what, I accepted it. But I realized, like, you can be funny and cute. You know, you can be funny in this. Like, there's always an ad. Like, it's never a full stop. Like, it doesn't stop there. I'm not just funny. I'm a list of things. It would be so funny if I just list of funny, like, how I am. I might do, you know, just a list of things. But I wrote like 2 or 3 poems about summer and Jamaica, because I'm Jamaican, and Jamaica just gives me a certain feeling. Sun rays soaking into my skin melting in the heat, dripping droplets of sweat. Yes, 5 minutes and I'm ready sweating. A smile appears on my face. The heat was what I craved, was what I loved. Jamaica, the island that infects your heart with love and culture. Jamaica has a bigger heart than no other. Jamaica is my home no matter what. Jamaica is the place. All of my experiences and all the things that I see, or all that things that make me and stuff like that is in this book, you know. It's different pieces, it's different experiences, it's different memories, and I want people to know, like, this is a piece of me. Like, it's not gonna go for everyone, it's not gonna be everyone's cup of tea, you know. Do you want to say this book, Bittersweet Poetry by Aaliyah McLaughlin, or A. McLaughlin, you know, initials things, is available on Amazon and Kindle. Yes, Amazon or Kindle. So, yeah, go buy it. I mean, you should. I mean, if you want a book,